What's up everybody, Maran here for another weekly updates. There's lots of exciting news to go over here this week, but before I get into the news, I first want to mention I'll be doing my usual weekly live stream on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time, so join if you can. It's always a fun time hanging out and talking cars with all of you. But getting into the news here this week, well, for the first time in a while, I've dug up my own news story here with the help of some other journalist friends. So I went to the Charger EV launch this week and I was talking with some of the engineers there. And a couple of us were talking about, the idea of V8s and all this kind of stuff with the new, most likely emissions regulations that'll be coming in or lack thereof. While we were talking with the journalist here, they confirmed to us that the Hellcat motor will not fit in the Charger. It won't fit. So, and they didn't specify whether it was a width issue or a height issue or what. So they just said it doesn't fit. And when asked about, have they reconsidered any of their engine plans since, the presidential election and all that, they're like, no, like we're doing the EV and we're doing the inline six. They even said they had to make some pretty substantial changes to like the engine cradle area and all that to actually accommodate the inline six at all. And some extra work involved to have that multi-powertrain thing in the first place. And so that was, a tall enough order on its own. And then to put in a V8 just seems like it's out of the question for them. So that was, they confirmed Hellcat motor will not fit. So we can just put that to rest. Anyone hoping or thinking that this is going to happen, even if there is no EPA whatsoever, even if there is no emissions regulations whatsoever, Hellcat motor is not coming back, at least not in the Charger. I guess never say never. If they want to just like completely hack up the entire front end and have a blower sticking out of it like it's Vin Diesel's Charger from the Fast and the Furious, maybe they can hack something together. But, it's safe to say, the only two options are going to be electric and the inline six, which already does more power than both of the old naturally aspirated V8s as well. So I still think it's a great lineup, and we will see how that inline six performs out in the real world. Stay tuned for my review here this coming week on the EV version and my thoughts on how that drives. But moving on here for some other big Stellantis news here this week. Of course, this came out last weekend, and I'm sure everyone's already heard it by now, but the CEO of Stellantis has resigned effective immediately. He was originally going to stick around until his contract ended in the early part of 2026. And so there's no specific reason given for why now all of a sudden he's leaving, aside from the obvious mounting of pressure and all the crap he's been taking over the past few months here. I'm not sure, which straw broke the camel's back there, but he has decided to resign effective immediately. And in the meantime, the chairman of both Stellantis and Ferrari, John Elkman, is going to be the interim CEO until a successor is announced in the first half of 2025, they say. So that's when we can expect to hear about new leadership here for Stellantis, but I'm sure a lot of people that were upset about the direction of the whole conglomerate will be happy to know that things will change sooner rather than later. You don't have to wait till 2026 for some changes now. They'll be changing at some point here, in 2025. So interesting to hear that, and we will see what that means for Stellantis and the future of their brands. And, it all comes down probably to who they bring in as far as how aggressive they get with the cost cutting and trying to get things under control there. But anyway, moving on here, Jaguar has revealed the Type 00 concept. It's two O's, and so I'm tempted to say double O, but apparently it is 00 is how you're supposed to say that. The concept here that debuted this week at Miami's Art Week. And they specifically chose that venue because they say it emphasizes Jaguar's purpose as an advocate for art and creativity in all its forms, according to Jaguar's managing director. And they also said, we know that art is a passion point for our future clients, so what better way than to go and talk to them directly at one of the world's premier art festivals. So hopefully now this explains the artsy commercials and the bold styling, wild colors, all that stuff here for this car. It's all catered for this demographic, which I always thought made sense as well. A lot of people were thrown for a loop by this, but they're only trying to sell a few thousand very expensive cars to, very wealthy people. And, that's why the marketing is different than your average brand that's trying to go for mass market appeal. But anyway, moving on to the car here, though. I thought that I had heard that we're going to see multiple concepts. I guess when they meant multiple concepts, they meant the same car in 3 different colors. But, I thought we'd see different body styles, and I thought we'd also see the vehicle that we saw with camo. I thought we'd see that with the camo removed, potentially. But instead, we just get this 2-door concept. They confirmed the first car to come will be a 4-door GT, though. So basically, based off what we've seen from the camouflaged real driving car that's running around, I'm assuming we're going to see basically this 2-door styling toned down slightly and stretched out a little bit to accommodate 4 doors. And that's basically what you can imagine, I'm guessing, whenever this thing arrives in late 2025 in production form. I'm sure we'll also get a 2-door at some point, sooner rather than later as well. And as far as the inside here, you'll see there's 2 big screens with a strange wall of sorts separating the driver and the passenger. Seems kind of cold, and not much else to talk about in there. There's also no mechanical details other than targeting 430 miles of range and a recharge rate that provides 200 miles of range in 15 minutes. It'll be on their new JEA electric platform, and so yeah, I guess in the meantime we'll see if we get any new spy shots of the prototype, but it sounds like we'll get something more realistic around this time next year. And I think it looks pretty cool, though. I know people have been making fun of it, just like they make fun of everything with this new Jaguar direction. I think it's pretty bold. It's, if this thing, obviously this is a concept, but it seems like, again, production car is going to be pretty close in proportion to this. You see something that looks like that roll up on the curb next to you in Beverly Hills or, Rodeo Drive, stuff like that, like, people will take notice. And that's exactly what they're going for, I think. So I think they're on the right track, honestly, and wish them all the best. We'll see how that goes. But also, it sounds like there's some good work progressing here on Mazda's iconic SP sports car here, specifically the rotary part of that vehicle. So the CEO of Mazda did a new interview with Automotive News here, where he revealed that while there's already the single range, single rotor range extender for the MX-30 in other parts of the world, he doesn't think that would be enough power for Americans. So he's quoted here saying, "We have tested with a single rotor. The next phase will be moving to 2. The rotors spin separately in different chambers with 1 shaft. We need to generate more electricity. 2 rotors will generate more power, which is more suitable to U.S. market characteristics." So those good old Yanks need more power. That is kind of what he's saying there. So they're going to be engineering a 2-rotor setup, it sounds like for the U.S. and other markets. But it sounds like it'll only still be a range extender thing and not powering the wheels directly. Because again, he's talking about this engine is getting bigger to generate more electricity, not to generate more power, electricity specifically. So still just a range extender, but it still could be very cool depending on how they integrate it. So in the iconic SP concept here, they claimed that it also ran a 2-rotor setup, hypothetically, that powered an electric motor that did a strong 365 horsepower total, again, once it was converted to electricity there. And he didn't give any kind of timeline for when to expect this vehicle or this engine, but it's good to hear that, they're working on the rotaries and that rotaries are actually coming back. This is something that's been, rumor mill fodder for decades, ever since, the last RX-7 and RX-8s, went out of production pretty much. And so, great to see this is actually seeming like it's becoming a reality here. Now, he also revealed a little bit of info about the recently announced SkyActiv Z motor that I discussed a few weeks back, suggesting that that motor will stay naturally aspirated. That's going to be the replacement for the regular Mazda 4-cylinders. And he also said, while discussing the increasingly strict emission standards all around the world, said normally aspirated engines would have to decrease output by 30% to comply with such stringent standards. But this engine defies that usual theory and keeps output while delivering outstanding environmental capability. So, that suggests to me that we shouldn't expect any kind of power boost. So expect the same, 191 odd horsepower from that naturally aspirated 4-cylinder from Mazda. But if it gets, a lot more efficient, that's an impressive feat. If they were expecting to knock off 30% of the power there and they're retaining that and hitting these emissions requirements. That's going to be very, very impressive. And so, yeah, looking forward to seeing that. I believe they said that was going to be showing up around 2027 or so. So, yeah, very interesting to hear that. Sounds like there's some brilliant engineers working at Mazda still. In some other powertrain news here, Motor One discovered a new patent that Lucid was recently granted, and it's a bit complicated over my head, honestly, but it appears to, according to the reports here, be used in combination with a new drive unit configuration to provide basically a two-speed setup. So basically Lucid's going to get a two-speed transmission of sorts, just like Porsche, although, you know, in the Taycan I think it's an actual gearbox, whereas in Lucid's case it appears to be within the actual motor itself, where the planetary gear sets are just now going to move at a different speed and kind of do that gearing that way, I suppose. This would improve efficiency, of course, having the extra gear there. And that would, I mean, Lucid's already, I'm pretty sure it's best in class, 5 miles per kilowatt hour efficiency they're already doing with the Air. And their CEO, though, said the goal is to get to 6 miles per kilowatt hour. So seems like this might be how they do that. This might be the secret sauce to crack that. Who knows if or when they'll ever use this tech, but you know, really cool to hear this regardless. And, you know, Lucid's been talking about how they want to do an affordable vehicle as well and just improve efficiency. I mean, the Air already does over 500 miles of range in its best configuration from a range standpoint there. And so, you know, this will allow them to open up, you know, less battery capacity. In addition to the batteries getting more power dense, but, you know, you make the battery smaller, while retaining the same range, or you can just max out the range even more if you want. Either way you go about it. I mean, but that's how you bring down the cost instead of waiting for the battery cost to drop, which is also happening. But if you make the motors more efficient so they run further on the same electricity, then that's better for everybody, you know, and that's brilliant. I really feel like Lucid is the front runner with EV tech right now, at least as far as the stuff we're actually seeing in vehicles. And so if they can actually hit this goal of, you know, 6 miles per kilowatt hour, I mean, that's like double what like our Mach-E does. I mean, that's really, you know, very, very impressive tech there. And so we'll see if they can actually achieve that, but it sounds like, again, some brilliant engineers working at Lucid there as well. So great to hear that. In some other EV news, very briefly, Ford of Europe debuted the Puma Gen E, and this likely won't be coming to the US, so I'll only spend a minute on this here briefly. But unlike the other European Ford EVs, this one won't be on a Volkswagen platform. Instead, seems like this one is clearly a gas Puma that's been converted to an EV with just basically getting a blocked off nose inspired by the Mach-E, which definitely does look a lot like the Mach-E with that nose, and a few other minor styling tweaks. And it runs a small 43 kilowatt hour battery and does a max of 234 miles of range on the easier WLTP test cycle. So if it ever did come to the US, this would be under 200 miles for the EPA. So, you know, wouldn't be a very attractive offering, I don't think, but, you know, really great for a city car and for, you know, places where you're not driving long distances like most of Europe. And so it does 166 horsepower and 214 pound-feet of torque. And powertrain-wise, yes, that sounds a little slow for an EV, but that's actually, if you keep it in perspective, that's about the same kind of power as the outgoing Fiesta STs. And thankfully, because of the small battery, this thing actually only weighs 3,280 pounds. So we're not far off. I mean, that's, you know, less weight than even like the Jetta GLI I just reviewed. So, I mean, this actually, I know, yes, it's an electric thing and it's a little Puma. It's not a Fiesta, but kind of could be, you know, like another take on like the Puma ST that they do offer over there for those who want those lower running costs and don't mind that amount of range. And even the interior seems pretty decent. So I'm sure, you know, there's probably not a lot of excitement about this over in Europe where, you know, EV sales are, you know, not quite as hot as they used to be still, you know, just like here in the States. But I don't know, this actually, aside, I mean, the other Fords, I was like, man, but this honestly seems okay if they price it right. We don't have pricing for it yet. That could be a way they screw it up still, but if they can actually price this to be competitive, I think that actually has a decent chance of success, which Ford of Europe desperately needs a win because they are just not doing well, like I've talked about in the past few weeks here. But anyway, this little Puma, not Mach-E, Gen E, Puma Gen E will be arriving at European dealers in the spring, so cool to see that. And there's some good news for enthusiasts here this week, with Recaro reporting that they have been saved from bankruptcy that they previously declared back in July. So an Italian investor group called Provo Group agreed to invest in them and basically took it over, it seems, with their production for OEMs transferring from Germany to Italy by next month. I guess they must have had a spare factory somewhere with this new group, because I don't know how you switch production in basically a month. But January is when they're saying their aftermarket seats will become available again as well. But they'll be resuming that OEM production around then as well. And beyond just staying afloat here, the new investor group's CEO says our investment in Recaro Automotive will strengthen our ability to deliver a premium seating product while embracing the most cutting edge innovations in the automotive sector. So it sounds like, not only are they going to survive, but hopefully they will continue to innovate and bring out some really awesome new seats here in the future as well. And so really great to see that they've been saved. And for the last news story here this week, I have some more good news, this time for fans of sedans. So Hyundai is having a fantastic year. Probably doesn't get talked about a whole lot because it's been a year of gloom and doom and everyone wanting to report about all the horrible things going on in the automotive industry and how everything's falling apart. Let's clutch our pearls. And I mean, some of it's warranted, but refreshingly, it's great to hear that Hyundai is doing well. It's going to be an even better year than last year, which was already a great year for them. So it's really good news over there, and so that's refreshing to hear. But the best news here is the Hyundai says that Sonata and Elantra sales have been doing fantastic since their refreshes, which were great refreshes for both of them here this year. So totally, makes sense, I suppose, but I'm just happy to see that is actually translating to sales and not just positive comments on the internet. And so Sonata is posting a 200% sales increase in November alone, and it's on an increase overall of 46% this year. And remember, these Sonatas didn't even come online until I think halfway through the year. So it's really ripping here. And Hyundai's biggest sales grower this year also is the Sonata. So, I mean, it's growing even faster than all the other stuff, even the hybrid stuff that they have, with the Tucson and stuff, which also has gotten a refresh here. Sonata's growing even faster than that. Also, they're saying that they're going to be hitting they're on track to do about 70,000 sales for Sonata this year, which is really good. I mean, it's still no Camry, but, for Sonata, that's a really nice improvement. And hopefully this means the Sonata won't get killed off. There's been talks that because it flopped so badly, in 2020 for the, first iteration of this generation, they were like, oh, maybe we'll just do a refresh, and then ended after that. But clearly this shows if you have good design, people will still buy them. Or maybe just sentiment about sedans is changing and people are buying them for that reason. But either way, hopefully 70,000 units is not something I think Hyundai is going to want to walk away from. So hopefully they keep it around. And also Elantra is doing even better yet, already notching over 125,000 sales this year. And it is also up 29% for November. So not as crazy as Sonata, but also growing nicely and selling, even more. Just, I think a lot of it's just because that segment as well is a little hotter for the compacts there. But, still just great to see Sonata and Elantra, two vehicles that I think deserve to do well, especially Sonata. I'm so impressed with Sonata. It's so, so nice. And so, great to see that that's paying off for them. And hopefully this encourages others to keep the sedans around. And, now, especially, with this new report last week about Chevy and Hyundai potentially badge engineering some stuff, maybe we will see a Malibu on the Sonata platform. Again, as long as they give it unique styling, I won't be upset about it. So we'll see, but very interesting to hear that. And lastly, I want to thank all of you that are members of the Maran Motoring Club. So we did have a few new members able to join here and also rejoin thanks to the very generous membership gifting here done this past week by Brian Harrington, MDKN, and Kyle in last Sunday's live stream. So huge thanks to all of you for your generosity and kindness. I really appreciate the support, and I'm sure all of those members who are able to either rejoin or, be new members for the first time here, I'm sure they very much appreciate those gifts as well. And I want to give a big welcome here to all those new members as well. So big welcome here to Sunny Malik, JG, Raphael, Jeff Hemion, M27CACWIP, David Foreman, Graham Timmons, Handsome Harrison, Larry Adres, Dinon, Nate Hoyes, Kevin F., and Cub. So I hope you're all enjoying those membership perks so far. Be sure to check out the membership tab and also send me a message if you'd like to get into the Discord server. And be sure to also join in on the live stream here on Sunday night, where those members do get that priority answering. I'm looking forward to chatting with those of you who can make it there. For anyone else that'd like to join, there's always join buttons here on the video page, on the channel page, and a link in the description. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Please leave a like and subscribe to keep these videos coming, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.